He's a frequent guest participant here on Court TV. Dr. Napoleon, I'm going to bring you in on this first, if I might, because so much of what you do has to do with counseling, providing advice, professional advice and guidance for trials, how they should be conducted, participants, characters within that courtroom. In terms of Bruce Cutler, his demeanor, effectiveness, this courtroom, this trial, this defendant, this part of the country, give us some of your thoughts.
Mr. Cutler, of course, is a very talented trial lawyer, but he is a fish out of water. This is Los Angeles, after all, and there is an ambient culture, especially in this particular courthouse, held over from the O.J. Simpson case. And although I'm a fan of Lance Ito, I like Judge Ito, the ghost of Lance Ito is everywhere in this courthouse. And Judge Fiedler, more so than the jury, was going to make very sure that anyone who came into his courtroom and who had designs to take over the courtroom make it an over-the-top theatrical production, which of course is Mr. Cutler's stock in trade, was not going to happen on his watch. Now, if Mr. Cutler had been aware of that ambient culture, the fact that this is one of the first completely televised trials in a while here in this particular courthouse, I think Mr. Cutler would have done well to be sensitive to the fact that the court, Judge Fiedler, had an agenda, and that agenda was dissonant with the modus operandi of Mr. Cutler.
A lot of good points there. I happen to share, just an aside, Dr. Napoleon, share your view of Judge Lance Ito. I spent time talking with him when I was covering that trial. I always felt that he was a good man, a good judge. Found himself in a situation where I've often said was victimized by a lot of the trial lawyers inside of that courtroom as opposed to him. But I think yes, your point is interesting here. Let me bring Jeffrey into this conversation here, because, Jeffrey, you make your living out there in that area. And I think what Dr. Napoleon says is very interesting and sort of compelling, that you know, the past is prologue. Obviously what happened in the past has a lot to do with what we're doing, what's taking place here. Decision that these jurors are going to have to make in terms of just how it was that Lana Clarkson's life was lost that early morning back in February of 2003. Dr. Napoleon, let me ask you something. I know that in looking at some of the notes of some of the work you've done, that you have studied, you've written about women, you say, like Lana Clarkson, beautiful, intelligent, struggling to make a career in an area, both a career and a locale that throws constant obstacles in their way. You talk about the prey-predator sort of analysis of Lana Clarkson. Explain what you mean by that.
Again, Jack, referencing the ambient culture in Los Angeles, there are thousands of young, beautiful women who arrive here in Los Angeles County monthly. And they come here to get into the movies, to get into the music business. They are met by both legitimate producers and directors and movers and shakers, in addition to a cottage industry of individuals who prey upon these persons. Now, when Lana got here in the 70s, she undoubtedly experienced what I just described. But this is a 40-year-old woman, which means that she has some staying power. She was always on the fringes, very talented, actually. However, never quite made it big. There was a process where she had overcome many of these obstacles. Nonetheless, she understood that if you want to make it in this business, then you must either have independent funding, or you must attach yourself to someone who has that power and prestige. That may have been, in her mind, Mr. Phil Spector.